Which transfer or true freshman is going to have the biggest impact for Tennessee football this upcoming season? What about Tennessee's pitching for the rest of their Omaha stay? That and a whole lot more. Mailbag and baseball talk from the College World Series. That's your Tuesday Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into it, your Tuesday edition of the show. This is Locked On Vols. It is your team every single day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And thanks so much for making Locked On Vols your first listen each and every day. Shout out everydayers. Appreciate you guys coming back and hanging out with us each and every day. On the road, still in Omaha. Tennessee won on Monday and extended their stay. Still an uphill climb, but things are looking a little bit more orange when you talk about who they'll be squaring off against on Tuesday afternoon. Of course, we'll get into that. Some more College World Series talk coming up in the second segment. Going to empty the mailbag here in the first segment. Two segments here on today's show. Again, I appreciate you guys bearing with me while I'm on the road, but did want to get you guys something out there so you can have for your morning commutes and all that good stuff. As always, Locked On Vols on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Okay, so let's empty the mailbag. Let's talk a little Tennessee football and whatever else you guys have. Some questions for me. Not a whole lot to get into, but I did want to answer these to the best of my abilities. My guy, Robert Boswell, he's been a guest here on the podcast over the years, and he wants to know, with summer strength and conditioning workouts having just kicked off, I need you to do a deep dive into who the freaks are on this football team. Who's the top squat, clean, bench, deadlift 40 times, etc. Now, that's a bigger topic show that I'll have to actually ask and make some calls and get some names and stuff like that. But I can tell you just a little bit, like a little brief little overview. You hope it works out with him on the field because we've been saying this for so long. Elijah Simmons. He is an absolute freak. In fact, The Athletic puts out like a yearly freak list, if you will, kind of heading into the season. And I think Elijah Simmons has been on that list the last 2 years. He is such a big guy. He's about 340 pounds or whatever. He's super athletic. He's quick off the line of scrimmage. He's got quick, active hands. But unfortunately, he's just never been able to find consistent playing time or live up to the consistency and the level of play that Rodney Garner wants in a defensive lineman. So you hope that's the case this year because you absolutely need him in the worst way, right? Elijah Simmons. So in terms of freak, Elijah Simmons, I don't know if he leads the team in squat or deadlift or anything like that. I would imagine he's up there. But just overall, in terms of weightlifter, workouts, all that type of stuff, Elijah Simmons would be up there. In terms of the fastest guy on the team, I mean, there's a couple, right? You've got Dylan Sampson, you got Squirrel White, you got Jalen Wright. All three of those guys are super fast, and they always compete, with those GPS trackers to see who covers the most ground, and of course, who runs the fastest mile per hour, if you will. Technology these days is pretty incredible when you can track all that type of stuff. So anyway, I would love to do a deeper dive on this, but I'd have to make some calls, and certainly that'll have to wait until after baseball season, but a fun topic for sure. Let's go to Joshua Reese. Over under 250 pitches for Burns in the World Series. Boy, you'd like to kind of have that conversation, realistic conversation, because that means Tennessee's continuing to win. Chase Burns, and I'll talk more about it in segment number 2, but he was absolutely incredible. So incredible for Tennessee in 6+ innings of relief. No runs, only 2 hits allowed. Marking his name in the Tennessee record books beside Todd Helton. The first reliever since 1997 to throw 6+ innings in a World Series game and give up no runs. Just incredible. So he threw 73 pitches in relief on Monday. So I would imagine he is not going to be available on Tuesday. If Tennessee were to win and advance on and play on Wednesday, maybe if you need 3 outs in a tough spot, can he give you something? Potentially, especially when your season's on the line, you're in the College World Series. But Tony Vitello and Frank Anderson will never, ever put their guys in harm's way. They just won't. So we'll see. Getting close to that 250 total that you put out there, that's, saying that he's got to go another extended period of relief. And that could certainly happen. Don't get me wrong. But if you're Tennessee, you don't necessarily want that, right? I mean, sure, you want to use Chase Burns, but you don't want to have to use Chase Burns for an extended period of time because that means your starter got rocked, a little bit like Chase Dolander did on Monday. So we'll have to see. But Chase Burns, incredible. To answer your question, I would take the under there. Aaron says, good morning, Eric. Wanted to hear your thoughts on what freshman and or transfer you think will make the biggest impact in this upcoming football season. Good question. So in terms of a true freshman, probably Arian Carter at linebacker. I think he's going to be in the rotation. I think Caleb Herring will be in the rotation at Leo in the pass rushing situations. So those on the defensive side of the football, I think, would be ones. Maybe a defensive back. I think Jordan Matthews and Ricky Gibson will be pushing some of those older cornerbacks, and that's good, right? That's what you want. But I would probably have to say Arian Carter if I had one, one guy I could have to. Only one answer would be Arian Carter. If you look on offense, Ethan Davis sounds like he's, recovering pretty nicely and get back into the swing of things from breaking his collarbone in the spring game. That's so unfortunate. He had a really good spring. I think that he certainly could play a role for Tennessee because of the position. It's needed. Jacob Bourne's going to play there. McAllen Castle's going to play there at tight end, but they want more tight ends to play. And, Ethan Davis is a guy that they really, really liked, a highly rated 4-star prospect. And it's unfortunate that he got hurt in the spring game, but I think he could be a guy that could see some PT this fall potentially. No receiver, no offensive lineman. No, Cam Selden might have some packages, but I don't think in terms of an everyday running back and every down running back, that's him as a freshman. So I'd go Arian Carter. In terms of transfers, man, we had this conversation a couple of times over the offseason, but pretty much Tennessee brought in, 8 transfers? I don't have the list in front of me. All of those guys are going to play. Like, they're here for a reason, right? Keenan Peely's going to play linebacker. He's going to be a starting linebacker. Omar Norman-Lott's going to be in the rotation on the defensive line for sure. You've got Gabe Judah-Lolly, who is a very successful cornerback at BYU in 2022, but has 3 years of experience playing in the Southeastern Conference at the cornerback position for Vanderbilt. He's going to play some, right? He might even start. Just kind of going down your kicker, Charles Campbell, he's coming over to kick because Chase McGrath's gone, right? Dante Thornton, a wide receiver, is going to play. And I think that would kind of be my answer there because, here John Campbell, of course, at offensive tackle. But Dante Thornton, Tennessee's got 4 receivers and you only play 3. They can say whatever they want, but they only play 3, right? But I think, football always has a way of evening out the numbers, if you want to call it that. Somebody will get hurt. And because of the versatility of Dante Thornton, who is a slot receiver, he has length and he has explosiveness that fits well on the outside as well. So, if Brew McCoy or Ramel Keaton were to go down, I think Dante Thornton could slide out. And of course, you can have Squirrel White in the slot. Squirrel White's going to play as well. He's going to play a lot in the slot too. But I would say Dante Thornton because I think he can have a major, major impact for this team, scoring some touchdowns. And then I would say John Campbell, because I think he's going to be your starting left tackle, veteran offensive lineman coming over from Miami. So I know I threw a lot of names at you. Number 1 would be Arian Carter as a true freshman. And then for the transfer, I will say Keenan Peely, because I know he'll start, but that is a rotational position. So I'll go John Campbell on the offensive lineman, because John Campbell will be a guy that is probably going to be out there, the majority the majority of the snaps on offense every single game. So, we will continue on and we'll go over to, let's see here. So we empty the mailbag. Let's go to James. James says, Twitter Tuesday, what does our pitching look like the rest of the week? Who is first to relieve Beam tomorrow? Halverson Wednesday, Lindsey Thursday, ? Assuming we keep playing. Again, that's a big caveat, right? You got to keep playing. You got to win to continue on. And because Tennessee lost game 1 on Saturday night to Paul Skeens, who's the best amateur pitcher on the planet right now. It's like, somebody posted this on the VolQuest board after the game. It's kind of like, well, what more could you, it's pretty much what you expected, right? You made it a ball game there towards the end. That was good, but Paul Skeens is great. And it's unfortunately Tennessee lost, but you're going to avoid that, right? So I'll get into more of that in segment 3 because Tennessee's going to play LSU tomorrow. Skeens will be unavailable, you would assume, right? After throwing 124 pitches on Saturday. He definitely won't start. But anyway, Beam will get the ball for Tennessee today on Tuesday to play LSU. You got to do whatever you can to win the baseball game, right, to keep your season alive. So all this is up in the air, subject to change. I would say Camden Sewell is a prime guy that can pitch. Seth Halverson, I asked him after the game on Monday if he's available. He threw 31 pitches on Saturday. He said yes, he is available. But he would also be a great candidate, as you mentioned, to start on Wednesday if you win on Tuesday. So again, everything kind of leads me to Camden Sewell a little bit. I think this is going to be Camden Sewell type game to come in after Drew Beam, but you hope Drew Beam can go give you 6-7 innings strong. That would really, really help Tennessee out. But hey, if Tennessee's in a position to where they need Seth Halverson, he will pitch. If Tennessee's in a situation where they need all hands on deck to win the game, that's what's going to happen. I mean, that's what you have to do in order to, make it stay alive in here in Omaha, right? So we'll get into more baseball talk here in segment number 2. And then lastly, we'll go to Braden. Can you tell us what a Tennessee football game day from start to finish looks like for Eric Kane? And how did you start working with the Locked On Network? Yeah, I'll go in reverse order. Started working here with Locked On. February 1st of 2021 was my first day, okay? And my first show, if you will. And I took it over from Josh. Got to know Josh Ward, who used to host this show. He comes on for Ward Wednesday. I know it's been very sporadic here in the summer months because I've been on the road so much lately and vacation, and so is he. But Josh Ward used to be the host of Locked On Vols, and he got to a point in his life where he had 3 little kids running around at home. He has a full-time job at the radio station, and time was something he didn't have a whole lot of. And so he offered it to me, or he put in a word for me. Of course, he couldn't, hire me, but he told Ross Jackson over, who was the college coordinator at the time, and I interviewed, and that's how I'm here. So I'm very, very thankful to Josh Ward for, mentioning me for this platform because I love it. It's my baby now. I adore getting on here and talking every single day. It's my passion, and of course, getting to know a lot of you guys, having a whole lot of fun hanging out with some of you guys. Just seeing you randomly, and so shout out Chris. But anyway, it's been fun. So I took it over for Josh Ward, and then a typical football game day for me in the fall. It depends on what time the game is because, of course, I'm covering it. But typically, I'll wake up. Hate nooners. Nooners are the worst for the morning, but you love it at the end because you get to watch a lot of late night football. But get up. I try to watch a little college game day just because, I'm not a huge fan of college game day anymore, but still it's football season. There's just something about it, right? So I watch a little college game day, eat a little breakfast at the house, head over there. Typically I get to Neyland Stadium for a home game about an hour and a half before kickoff, maybe 2 hours to an hour and a half before kickoff. Take the 2-minute drill if needed, go up there, get all my stuff set up, get out the binoculars, see who's on the field, who's dressed, who's not dressed, all that type of stuff, reporting. Do the game, typically starting to write on a column there towards the second half at some point. Do all the post-game stuff, which usually, at the stadium, usually still at the stadium for, anywhere from 2.5 hours after, the final whistle blows, right? Because there's just press conferences and all that type of stuff. And then you come home and I start getting my ducks in an order for my Sunday column typically. And then I try to watch football, whatever football game is on that night. And especially, if it's late into the night. But, depending on when Tennessee plays, for the media, you love noon games. I don't like the morning because it's an early start time, but still, in relation, the timeline gets bumped up. But you love noon games if you're media, and you love 3 o'clock games or 3:30 games if you're media. You hate night games because, gosh, I mean, the game's not over with until midnight. You're not leaving the stadium until like 2 a.m. And again, there's a lot of work to do on Sunday. So that is a look at kind of what my schedule looks like in the fall for a typical football game day. Hey, let's talk baseball. 2 segments here on this show, and a lot going on with Tennessee and Omaha. And Tennessee wants extending its trip by at least one day. We'll see if it can hang on and win again. But let's talk a little baseball. That's coming up next right here on Locked On Vols when we return. I want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. No sweat first bet up to $1,000. Baseball season is in full swing. There's no better place to get in on all that action than over at FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. $1,000 back with a no sweat first bet and bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to join today. Love baseball. There's so much action you can get in on there. Just straight up money line. You can go run line. You can go futures, MVP voting, all-star voting, all that type of stuff. And you can do it all over at FanDuel Sportsbook. So don't miss your chance at a no sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball trademarks used with permission. All right, guys and gals, we'll come back here for another little extended segment, a little two-parter here this Tuesday show, and we'll talk a little baseball. Tennessee 6-4 winners over Stanford, the number 8 overall seed in Omaha for the College World Series. It was an elimination game, and Tennessee came out swinging a little bit later in the game. It's like this Tennessee team, like if they're not down by 4 runs in the third or fourth inning, it's like, what are we doing here, right? I mean, it's 2 weeks in a row. Facing elimination, on the brink of elimination, down early in a game, 4+ runs. And it's happened 2 weeks in a row. It's happened 3 times already this season. And fun fact, every game that Tennessee's been in that situation, it's not really a good stat, but Chase Dolander's actually started that game. But nonetheless, Tennessee's bats woke up. It was a 4-run 5th inning. And Tennessee ended this game with 13 hits. Third most in program history. In fact, they had 21 hits in back-to-back games back in the 2001 College World Series against Miami and Georgia, I believe. Nonetheless, third most hits in a College World Series game in program history. 13 hits overall, and I believe 11 of those were singles. 11 of those were singles, or maybe 12 of those were singles. 1 extra base hit. And my buddy Grant Ramey that works with us over at VolQuest.com in our group chat after the game, he was like, my favorite stat is, Tennessee has hit about 1 billion home runs over the last 2 years. And they won this game in Omaha in the College World Series on the brink of elimination by having 11 or 12 singles, 1 extra base hit. I love that stat. But that 4-run 5th inning, I mean, it was powered by just singles. You go and look at the play-by-play sheet and look at what Tennessee did in that inning. Zane didn't let off with a single. Christian Scott struck out. Cal Stark singled behind him. Maui Ahuna singled to load the bases. There was 1 out, bases loaded. Hunter Ensley comes up to the plate. A fly ball gets 1 run in on a sacrifice. Jared Dickey singles in a run to center field. And then Griffin Merritt actually singles to load the bases again. And then Christian Moore comes up and he drives in 2 on a single up the middle. Just single. Tennessee scored 4 runs off 6 hits in that 5th inning to tie the ball game. Then later in the 6th inning, later in the 7th inning, actually, Tennessee came back. Merritt began the inning with a walk. Christian Moore lined out. Blake Burke doubled to put runners at second and third base. Zane Denton grounded out to the shortstop, but an RBI ground out took the lead at 5-4. And then Blake Burke later scored on a wild pitch. Really good read and took off for home. And that was a huge insurance run for Tennessee, battling back, scoring 6 unanswered runs after falling behind by 4 after Stanford scored 2 in the first and then 2 more in the third. What more can you say about this team? I mean, this team that, again, is faced elimination a couple different times. A team that's been down has battled back. This is what championship teams are made of, right? I mean, are they going to win 3 straight, get out of this little mini regional and go to the College World Series Championship Series? We'll see. I mean, it's tough sledding, but it's been really fun to watch this team. And again, you can just never count them out. I won't name any names, but I was sitting next to one of my media buddies in the press box, and we were kind of talking. And when Tennessee went down by 4 runs, he was booking his flight to come home the next day. And I'm like, I mean, I'm with you. I should probably be doing that too, but I'm not going to do it because I saw this team come back from these same odds and the same run differential just a week ago. And lo and behold, here we are. And Tennessee did it again. Let's get to the performance by Chase Burns. Talked about it a little bit in segment number 2. Just incredible. Writes his names in the history books next to Todd Helton with, he had 9 strikeouts in the College World Series games. He is the first pitcher since 1997, the first reliever since 1997 to toss 6+ innings, no runs in a World Series game. Just incredible. He hit triple digits a couple different times. He had 73 pitches, 6 innings plus, no runs, gave up only 2 hits, walked none, struck out 9. He was great. It's just so unique to think about his journey because he was demoted, right? I mean, he's been a starter, was an All-American last year, National Freshman of the Year by D1 Baseball, but he was getting rocked this year. Sophomore slump, if you will, as a starter. Got demoted to the bullpen, but he has been nothing but elite. Think about the Vanderbilt series. Think about Southern Miss. Think about what happened yesterday. He has been elite in this role. and it's been huge for Tennessee. Tennessee obviously doesn't win this game without Chase Burns, who threw 73 pitches in relief, 6 innings of relief in place of Chase Dollander, who just wasn't himself. 3 innings, 4 runs off 4 hits, walked 2, struck out 2, and threw 58 pitches as well. What I really like to see here, again, elimination game, look at the final box score. Maui Ahuna, 3 hits. Jared Dickey, 3 hits. Blake Burke, 2 hits. Zane Denton, 2 hits. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 guys had multi-hit days. And from Maui Ahuna, who I think in the College World Series, he's been putting together really, really nice at-bats. Led off the game, first pitch you saw with a single right up the middle. That's just great to see. So now you transition. Stanford is eliminated. Okay, now you transition to LSU. LSU fell to Wake Forest. Both those 2 teams, they won on Saturday. So they played on Monday night and fell to Wake Forest by a score of 3-2. LSU went a little ballsy, okay? I've talked about how they don't have much pitching past Paul Skeens, and their number 2 is a really, really good pitcher in Ty Floyd. They took him out of the ball game in the 5th inning after he gave up 2 runs off 2 hits. Walked 4, though, struck out 10, and they went to their typical number 3 starter in Thatcher Hurd. He's not great by any stretch of the imagination, but he's a guy that has started a whole lot of ball games for LSU this year, and he pitched 3 innings of relief the rest of that game, 65 pitches. So LSU is in a situation where now it will square off against Tennessee. That's got a lot of momentum, okay? Both these 2 teams are up against elimination, and if you're LSU, who are you going to throw? Right? It's going to be a straight bullpen game. Jay Johnson, their manager, said after the game that they have 9 pitchers available. They're going to pick one to start, then they'll go to the second guy. Then they'll go to the third guy if needed until they get 27 outs. That's coach speak. I get it. I would expect Cooper Riley to be a guy he's started at times for LSU this year. I think he started a game in Hoover most recently, but he's a guy that I expect to maybe get the ball to start this game. But if you're Tennessee, man, you really feel good about where you are. Yes, you are on the brink of elimination. It's easier said than done. And I said you'd want to face LSU again because they don't have much pitching behind Paul Skeens. And you have pretty much everybody available, right? Andrew Lindsay, I would assume, will not pitch today. Chase Burns will not pitch today, I would assume. And Chase Dollander, I would assume, would not pitch today. I would be very, very surprised if any of those guys pitch. Maybe if you need Andrew Lindsay for 1 inning, I don't know, just to stay alive, right? You got to do what it takes. It's Omaha. It's College World Series. But I don't think those guys would be available. But you have everybody else. Seth Halverson told me after the game he is available. Cannon Sewell is available. A.J. Russell is available. Aaron Combs is available. Xander Seacrest is available. Kirby Connell is available. Bryce Jenkins is available. I don't think I missed anybody. I think that's everybody. You're in a great spot pitching-wise if you're Tennessee, right? It's only going to get tougher, though, because you got to win 3 straight games to advance on to the College World Series. You can't lose College World Series Championship Series. You can't lose a game. But you worry about Thursday. You worry about Wednesday on Wednesday. Worry about Tuesday today. You got to win today, then figure it out tomorrow. That's what teams do at this stage of the postseason. So Tennessee's win over Stanford snapped a streak of 6 straight losses in the College World Series for Tennessee, dating all the way back to 2001. That was really, really good to see. But yeah, just staying alive, right? Don't ever count out this team. There's something about this team that has just been a whole lot of fun to watch get better and better. And they're the cardiac kids. They could just continue to fight back. There were some great quotes after that game for Chase Burns. He was like, pretty much was like, with all due respect, I don't think that they have a guy in that Pac-12 that can pitch like me. And he's right? I mean, he's a specimen. And then Tennessee will give the ball to Drew Beam today. And you got to get a good Drew Beam here tonight. If he can go 6-7 innings, boy, you're saving that bullpen so much. But also you're giving yourself a chance to win. And, of course, winning is the name of the game because it means you get to play the next day. So Tennessee still here in Omaha. I am still here in Omaha. Today I'm doing the podcast from a conference room at the Holiday Inn Express in South Omaha. I believe it's the Ralston area. I think I got that city name right anyway, that town name right. But, yeah, as long as Tennessee's here, I'll be here. And, again, like I said on yesterday's show, very much TBD in terms of the schedule this week. I'll do a show after the game tomorrow, and I'll get it up there for you guys Wednesday morning. But if Tennessee loses over the next couple of days, then my travel day will probably affect my recording for that next day. So as always, just follow me at _Caner. I'll definitely, if I'm not doing a show the next day, I will communicate there and on the community tab on YouTube. I can't thank you guys enough for coming back every dayers. You guys make this show what it is. Thanks so much for the questions, a little Tennessee football talk, and of course, an update from Nebraska, Omaha from the College World Series. Let's do it again tomorrow, guys. This has been Locked On Balls.